right, we will get started. It is 9 o'clock Wednesday morning in Wisconsin. It's a chilly, gray, snowy day. So thanks for being here and uh, getting ready to talk about our deep dive into Microsoft Planner and To-Do and lists and more. And some of this is, you've seen some of these things before, and this is, we're going to do more of a demo today, which we get into the deeper dive on this. Thought it'd be a good New Year's resolution kind of thing. So that's me. Good morning, and thanks for being here. I am honored to be the leader of Team Tobin, where we do IT services and cybersecurity, and also get to do one of the things I really enjoy doing, which is speaking on different topics and doing webinars for you. And so thanks for being here, so I have someone to speak to. Some of you have been here before, and some of these slides are going to be very familiar. You're going to be like, oh, there's Jeremy's Swiss Army knife slide. You know, like you've seen that. Or maybe you're kind of multitasking, you're going to do some emails and things like that. No, that's fine. But, you know, I'm encouraging you as we go into this, maybe listen newly, like you've never heard this before. Yeah, it's maybe something, maybe a little more attentive to this if you can, because I think you're going to find some useful things in here to make your life a little easier and have a better technology experience, which is our mission at Tobin Solutions. We've got the chat open here if there's any messages along the way. We've got Amanda, who's co-hosting with me to look at the chat and manage some of the surveys and things like that. So she may pop on. And then certainly there'll be an opportunity for some Q&A at the very end, as well as if you need to get a hold of me offline, you'll have my contact info at the bottom there. So we'll get started with that Swiss Army knife thing I was talking about, because we're talking about Microsoft 365, doing the deep dive on those tools. A lot of you already have Microsoft 365, or you're thinking about getting it, and that's a key part of this, because that's where these tools exist. And I like to think of it as a Swiss Army knife. And I like it from the Swiss Army knife standpoint of, like, there's a lot of tools there. And while I could, you know, use the knife to try and open up a bottle of wine, there's a corkscrew tool. And better to maybe use the corkscrew tool to open that bottle of wine. So there's also part of this of, like, using the right tool for the right job, or using a better tool for maybe a more effective job. So that's why it's important to know what's in here. There's a lot of these out here. And if you have Microsoft 365, or most people are pretty familiar that it's Microsoft's cloud hosted solution. They've got different tiers of service. I think I've got all my pricing here updated. I think they might have even done another price increase somewhere along the way, but it's pretty close. And they have generally kept things pretty stable. They've only had price increases as of recent, which isn't too bad considering all the inflation out there. But depending on which tier you're on is going to depend what features you get. And, we like the last tier because it adds some additional mobile device management and security and things like that. But whichever tier you're in, most of these things are going to apply. So you should have access to these as we go. Now, when you start putting information to any system, it's really important. And we talk about security first at Tobin. It is, you're putting data in. So what does this mean? So when you're putting stuff into Microsoft 365, you want to make sure you understand that you are still responsible for your data, ultimately. Microsoft has what's called a shared responsibility model, as does Google and most of the others, big cloud providers out there. And so if you start using this and start putting some information in, and it starts becoming kind of a critical system for you, you just want to know that, want to make sure all the standard security practices are in place to make sure it's being protected both inside and out. So we're talking today about this deep dive in To-Do and Planner and all that, but fundamentally it's about, trying to get stuff done. It's trying to assign work to yourself or to somebody else and hold them accountable. And this is part of another presentation. I did this before. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this section. I'm going to cruise through it pretty quickly, but probably if you're here, you're interested. You might have some of these moments where you're like just ready to bang your head against the wall over trying to stay on top of what you've got to stay on top of, either because it's things you need to do or things you're trying to get others to do for yourself or for a coworker or someone you manage, or it could even be a customer, any of that. Coincidentally, some of this could be in your, some of these tools are also pretty good for your overall life as you go in here too. So, you might use some of these tools around managing family. I know we use them at the Cherney household. We use some of these tools and techniques to just try and stay on top of life outside of work too. So feel free to use this for personal as well as professional. I know, if I'm having trouble sleeping in the middle of the night, sometimes it's often because I'm in one of these bullet points here. Something's just not working, and it's got me stressed. So great thing is, one of these benefits of doing this is, I don't know, maybe you'll sleep better, maybe a little less stress, maybe a little less conflict at the office. So there are lots of books on this, and and the reason I mention this as an issue, and this is the concern, is there's so many books on this. There's so many different ways to do this. All of these things I'm showing you are really just tools that are more than likely going to support some of these different books. And this is 4, and there's, probably 4,000 on Amazon. So pick the one that works. What's the most effective book? The one that you'll actually use. And you'll probably be able to map it onto some of the tools I'm going to show you. The one I really like is this one. I don't have a link here. I'm not trying to shill it for Donna, although I did see a presentation from her a number of years, and this book was life-changing for me. It really turned me into or got me on the road from being dictator to delegator. And it's a super easy book, and it's I'm going to kind of model some of this stuff off of there. But whether you're going to use it or you think you're going to use it, or you probably know, oh, I don't need this, but I know who needs this. You might want to think about getting this book for a little gift here. But by and large, it's got 6 steps. Prepare. Clearly get clear what you want the task to be. Be specific. Get your time frame together. Define your level of authority. Put some checkpoints in, and then debrief when you're done. So this could be around a smaller project. It could be around one thing. It's like, hey, create a newsletter. There could be a number of steps that are going to be in here. So again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because I want to spend more time on demo time with you. I know that's one of the things we usually get requests for when we do our surveys afterwards, and I want to move into that in a bit. So, but I want to know the context for which we're going to be doing some of these things, because if I'm not doing some of these things, then I might not get the results I really want to get. So defining the level of authority is a really important part when you are assigning tasks. I know this is an area I really struggled with, because I would start with something and I'd give something to somebody, and then they go do it. And I'd be like, no, I just wanted you to get me some information. And then I would choose, or there was somebody who I knew could do it, and they were coming back to me with a whole plan. I'm like, no, I just need you to give me 2 bullet points and tell me which one you want to do. And I'm probably just going to say, go ahead, because I've already got that level of trust with you. But whatever that is, you do want to get clear about it. And I chose pink here because it's like a nice soothing color. And it's kind of, again, this is one of those areas people struggle with. And you want to be thinking about this ahead of time as part of using some of these tools to actually have that work. So you want to prepare beforehand. I've had some of the worst results when I just throw out an idea or start spitballing things off the top of my head. Leads to all kinds of mischief, and usually I don't get these benefits. I get, oh, I should have done that myself, or why did I bother? Now I got to redo it, or, making, me get angry at people and having to clean that up and all of that kind of stuff. So there's some benefits of this. In the end, you get more time. I know that the more effective I am at delegating, and the more I get spend time on leading and managing and creating new products and services and speaking to people like you, it also helps me focus on what's most important, but also helps the team focus on what's important, because you might have 10 things you've given them. How do they know which is the highest priority? And it also allows you, when you get that nice handoff, it really starts to develop their capabilities, their confidence. Gives me an opportunity to coach and mentor them around whatever I'm delegating to, all of that. So again, take a look in that book. Every one of those books I mentioned, pretty much everyone is going to give you like, why bother? Because when people get pretty good at delegating, a lot of these things kind of show up as suddenly possible, whereas before they didn't seem possible. We get into a little bit of accountability here, right? This is critical in all of these things, because really, when you get into it, it's you know, you can delegate things to yourself. I mean, you can certainly use these tools, and it's not a bad habit to get into. I hear some of the, most successful people do really good with their own checklists and what is their intention for the day. And so you can use these tools to, set yourself up for all kinds of accountability. You can also assign the assignments to other people, which is obviously I know a goal for a lot of you, and what you're already doing in some way. It's just a question of how you're doing it, and is there some room for effectiveness. You might want some progress reports, some automatic reminders. So there's, that's what you kind of get into some of that world of accountability, because everyone's human, everyone's got everything that's going on. There's a snowstorm and suddenly things are derailed, or someone's got a sick so-and-so that they're helping out, or whatever. They got another priority, a client fire showed up. All of that stuff happens, but you still want to be able to keep these structures around, because then people can look and say, oh, I'm supposed to be doing these things today. They could report back to you and say, hey, I can't do this today. I'm going to do this tomorrow. Is that's okay for you? That kind of thing. But it starts to build in that kind of muscle, keeps building in a muscle, and it builds it in for you, and it builds in for them, because you'll start to know yourself as somebody who can be effective at delegating, and they'll start to know themselves as people that can effectively part of the team and go run with the ball, and then come back and deliver breakout results for you. So, and for themselves. So it's a great opportunity, but it is a mountain with no top. It is a muscle to develop. I mean, there's people I know that are highly successful people that are still working and doing at the getting better and better at doing these kinds of things. Let's see, there's a question here. Mickey saying, I think I do a fairly good job of delegating, but I often worry that it can be viewed. Well, yeah, so I'm gonna, somebody shared, I think I mentioned your name, Mickey, so I won't try and pretend I didn't, but you talked about, is delegating, does it look like you're passing the buck or shirking responsibility? I think that's a good thing, because I think a lot of people struggle with that. I think that's really great that you shared that, because I bet if we had people raising their hand right now, we'd probably have some other people that would raise their hand and say, yeah, when I'm delegating, I feel like it doesn't feel like I'm passing the buck. So that's a whole other thing. There's probably some things in those books around that, about how to have those conversations, and really probably, if you are somebody that can delegate, then you're probably someone who's a manager or supervisor or leader in some way. And this is maybe just, getting comfortable taking ground and in doing that. But a lot of people are challenged with that. So thank you. Let's see. So we're going to keep moving along here. This is a critical thing. You can have all these great ideas in your head. You can even have ideas down on paper. But if you haven't got really clear who is doing what by when, then you want to consider it may not really be in existence. If I say I'm going to clean the garage, and even if I write that down on a whiteboard somewhere, it's kind of in existence, but it doesn't say when it's going to get done by. And it doesn't say who's doing it. I say, I'm going to clean the garage. I might say the garage will be clean. Some people put down items in their to-do lists like that, right? And they haven't even put anybody in charge. So what's going to be important for this is whether you're giving to yourself or giving it to somebody else. You want to make sure who's going to do it. And it could be a person or a team. You're going to find out it could be people inside your organization or outside your organization if you use some of those features. And you can put a date and a time by when it's due by, and leverage all of that information. But it's critical. So this is part of your setup. If you give somebody to-dos or tasks that don't have a deadline, or you give out a to-do to a group and nobody's really grabbed it, at Tobin, we talk about passing the baton. Unless you really, someone's got that baton, it's going to sit out there. So this gets it real. So let's get things real. And how are you doing this now? So we're going to do a quick survey here. Let's see how people are keeping things in existence now. Which one is that? Amanda, is that the effective delegation area question? Is that one? You want to launch that?
I just did.
Oh, you did? I'm not seeing it. Okay. How do I get notified? Cool. Thank you.
Mhm.
Interesting. I have to launch it. See it. I know what I'm missing here. Why am I not seeing? Hey man, I'm not sure why I'm not seeing it up there. If you want to shout out what you're seeing as far as what people are doing.
Sure. Looks like the majority of them, majority of people are using spreadsheets, email, and calendars to track. Got a few people that are using old-fashioned whiteboards and post-it notes, which I think everybody still kind of uses to an extent anyway. Teams, then we've got text message and some line of business application, but really spreadsheets, email, calendars are the top.
All right. Well, that sounds about right, because that's what we pretty much see everywhere. So yeah, thanks. We can close that poll. Thank you, everyone. So yeah, that's pretty much what we see. And there's, oh, now I'm seeing it pop up. That's interesting. Just kind of came up. Looks, or did I start it up again here? I'm going to end the poll. I must have done something wrong there. I'm going to let you manage that, Amanda, because I'm not going to do that. Okay. So yeah, so that's kind of what people do. And there's nothing wrong with any of that stuff. And you've probably run into some of the limitations of it now and again, depending on your environment, either the, oh, someone's in the spreadsheet and you got to get out, or, you know, I updated the spreadsheet and no one's seeing it, or I'm emailing the spreadsheet back and forth, or all those kinds of things, or I'm trying to get it at remotely and it's sitting on our server. There's all kinds of things that come up. And you may have some of those elements of that, who's doing what by when. But the spreadsheet's the spreadsheet and how that might be limited. So Microsoft has a number of different applications. Now, I didn't even mention the spreadsheets here, but there's some other ways, obviously, you can use spreadsheets. I'm going to show you, there might be a new twist on how you use spreadsheets for some of that accountability and tasks. But they have a lot of different tools around this. And that's kind of the nature of it, seems to be with these cloud solutions, is everybody's got a number of tools in one way or another, or they buy a company that has like a better this, and then they start to integrate it into their systems and all that. But by and large, Microsoft has a few different things. You've got Microsoft Planner, which is their task-based management system. You've got Microsoft, Project, which is a teams-based project management, but that's Project is a larger application for managing larger, more complex projects, like putting up a bridge or something like that, building something. Then you've got the To-Do, which is both personal and team-based, but it's really just task-based. You've got some Outlook stuff, so we can talk about how you can leverage some of what you're doing with Outlook and emails. And then there's some Teams integration I'm going to show you as well. And we'll do a little bit of demo on each here. So, quick sip of water. Should have done that during the survey. So some of you may be using some of these things. And the other thing, again, as we start to dive into those, think about, how do you like to do tasks? Do you like it? And are you going to follow one of those books? Have you got an existing solution in place? Is there one that keeps showing up in your, LinkedIn feed about do task management this way? All those tips and tricks and YouTube videos and TED Talks and all that stuff that shows up. Whatever it is, you want to kind of start to map some of that in here as we go. But I got to share one thing with you first that kind of freaks people out. It's both the good thing and the weird thing, depending on how you grasp what's going on here. Whoops, why is that slide skipping ahead? Microsoft 365 Graph. This is the benefit of when you put things in Microsoft 365. And notice I'm calling it Microsoft 365, by the way. They've got it renamed. It's not Office 365 anymore. Sometimes I'll still call it Office 365, but for what we're talking about, it's Microsoft. They've got this, they call it the graph. It's really the database engine. It's the links between everything. So when you've got stuff in the cloud, the email can talk to Teams, which can talk to Calendar, which can talk to your files, which can talk to your chats and your tasks and all of that. And it all sounds amazing, but it can be confusing sometimes because people are, most people have been using computers for any length of time. You get very app focused. I open up Excel and that's where I get my spreadsheet data. But in this case, you might be opening up your Excel, have some spreadsheet data, but it's pulling something from Teams now or something like that. So it can get a little confusing where some of the data is. And unfortunately, some of this is incomplete. Sometimes you're like, oh, I see. If I do a task here, it should show, if I do a task on my file, it should show up this way in Microsoft To Do, and it doesn't. So it's kind of weird, and some of you have to kind of play with. And I think they're kind of on their march to add features and functions like everybody else. But so you want to just get when you're putting in this stuff, and when I'm showing you like 3 or 4 different applications and how they're kind of linking together, it's really because of the magic of the graph. Okay, so we're going to jump into Planner here, which is their task-based planner. What's nice about this is it's easy. It's a real simple solution. It kind of matches some other similar solutions out there that use like, what do they call them? Like Kanban boards or Can boards. I can't remember what they call them. So it's a kind of a project management system. There's some other similar systems out there like Trello that look like this in some ways. It's pretty easy to get. It's only available in a web browser, and there's an app for your phone or tablet, which isn't bad. You can work on it through the web on your computer easily. And then you've got the apps for when you're mobile. And we'll get into a little bit more what that looks like. But it's this easy task-based planning things. And you can, if you think about some people when they lay out projects or lay out tasks, they do it as a task, right? So you've got all of these features in here, and a way you can create tasks and assign them to people and move them around. And it'll make a lot more sense when we get into the demo. But you can see in the task, and this is the fundamental component of a plan, is a task. And guess what? It's who's doing what by when. So plans are made up of tasks. You put in the start and due dates. You can put priorities. You can assign people. You can even attach files and photos and things like that. You can flag things. You can even have a task that's really like a little checklist. Like it could be a task to prepare, to close up the office for the evening. And that's the task you assign to somebody. And there might be like checklists below that of, check the lights, set the alarm, check the back door, those kinds of things. And they can go bing, bing, boom, and do it on, and it's done. And they can do all that from their phone as they're walking around doing all that stuff, checking it off. And then you could go in and look and see that it's done. Tasks are great, and you could have just lots of tasks, but sometimes tasks make more sense when they're organized into groups that Planner calls buckets. So in a bucket is a bucket of tasks, and that's all you do is you can create a bucket. You can have as many buckets as you want, and you can create the buckets any way you want. You can have them be phases. You could have them be just random buckets of things that don't necessarily relate to one another, or however you want. And then you can move tasks and do things like that. There's notification that gets involved, right? That's sometimes one of those things, like with the spreadsheet angle, right? You might put a task in a spreadsheet, and there might be people that go in every day and they're looking at that spreadsheet as their queue of work. But if there's nothing in there to add, or maybe there's something that's hot and important to add, you might want them to get notified right away. So there's some notification as a feature of some of these adding of tasks, which is great, right? Because if you're going to delegate something to somebody, you want to make sure that they know about it. So that notification can be handy. We're going to look at some of those. Another nice thing with Planner is you get to chart your progress. How are things going? This adds to build into the accountability, right? You might have a great list of things. How many haven't been started yet? How many overdue? How many have a due date coming up soon? Who's got their list and they've got their things complete and who doesn't? Who's overloaded and maybe needs to, and some who's underloaded and maybe you could move some of their tasks over to them. So it starts to give you some of those capabilities. You've also got guest access with Planner, and we're not going to do the training on that today, but you know, we're talking about accountability. This could be one of your key subcontractors. You can actually invite people without them having a license in your Microsoft 365 tenant and use your planner and do some basic features. So it's cool. It could be your business partner. It could be a client. Maybe you've got a task list with a client and you want a project plan, rather, a planner, and you've got a bucket you want to share with that client. You could do that and they could go in and edit stuff. They could see progress. You know, it could save you from, hey, I'm going to send you a link, you know, Friday, we're going to review our planner results together and go through that. Or, hey, we don't have to meet Friday because you can go in and look at the status yourself. And if you got any questions, because it all looks great to me, then, you know, let me know. So, all right. So I'm going to do a quick demo on that. Let's see. We're going to change a share here. And I'm going to share. Make sure I got this. And I'm going to share. Switch to this. All right, so what you are seeing is another desktop where I'm logged in as a different user. Now, how do you get to some of these things? From a web browser, you know, you go to office.com. And if you're already logged into your machine and your machine is already authenticated with Microsoft 365, it's just going to know you're you. If not, you would then get prompted with your Office 365 credentials to log in. And you get Microsoft's kind of start page here. And if we want to go into Planner, I can go down to apps and I can say show all my apps and I can go to Planner. And it opens up in a new tab. And, you know, with most modern browsers too, you can kind of have the different tabs you want, or you can also drag a tab off and put it into another window here. So you could actually have like a planner window up, and, you know, if you have multiple windows open on your computer, you got 3 screens like I do, you might have one screen to get dedicated to, here's where all my planners are. You know, here's where I've got those things, or the report of what's going on. But anyway, so we've got a blank canvas here, and I'm going to say I'm going to create a plan. And I can do a new blank plan, but oh, I've got some templates here. This isn't bad. You might want to play around with some of these to see what they've got. You got a simple plan, you've got a project management, onboarding. How many of you have an onboarding plan when people start? Maybe that's the spreadsheet. This could actually help with that, including even the person that's being onboarded, because they might have some things to do, like do your cybersecurity awareness training that we recommend, or things like that, so they can automatically start to have a task list that shows up for their first day of employment. I'm going to do a new blank plan here just to start, and I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to start with something really simple, and I'm going to call this my assistant plan. And it's not a new group, and it's going to be a private one. And if I wanted to, I could actually add my assistant here. So this account that I'm logged into doesn't have other users, but if I had my assistant in here, like Amanda, who helps out with me quite a bit and keeps my life dramatically less stressful, I would put her in here, and then she would have access to this planner. And this could simply be our list that we work on together. So it might be like schedule the next webinar, and do that by February 4th. Now I would assign it to her if she were in here. I'm going to assign it to myself, which maybe is a little redundant, but you can use it to yourself that way. That's fine. And I add a task. And now I've got, under this to-do bucket, I have a task, and I could add another task. That's the schedule of the webinar. I could say, let's see, plan next team day, because we do quarterly team days at Tobin. And we want to do that, let's say by February 17th. And I'll assign it again to me, although it would normally be to whoever's actually going to do this. You can assign multiple people to a task. If you have a groups, if you use some of the groups inside, like maybe this is a fulfillment team, you could assign this task to the fulfillment team if you wanted to. And I can go ahead and say, add that task. And now we've got that. So I've got a couple of tasks here. If I want to click on it, I can go in and see. I can add some more information. I can put some notes in here. I could add a sub checklist, review new topics. Whoops. Review last survey from webinar, because we like to hear what you guys tell us. So you can see that. I can say, oh, show that on the card. So that's kind of neat. I could add a document here if I wanted of recent documents I used that would be on there. Go ahead and close that. And then look, you can see now I got my bucket. Now this is one plan. So you can have a plan of one bucket, or you can have a plan of multiple buckets. So if you had, let's say, 3 direct reports, you could create a different plan for each one of those. And this could be a task list you use between you. If this was the fulfillment team, I could do a new one here and call it fulfillment team. And if I had a group, I would put it in there, but I'm going to say it's a private group again. Now, we've only got the one user here set up for the demo, but if I had a group or multiple people who are on the fulfillment team, I could add them in. And now this is not the same plan. These are 2 different plans. There's the assistant plan and fulfillment team plan, and they each have their own security. So that's why there's 2 different plans. Now this bucket could be, fulfillment team could be create a quote. Maybe this could be a sales team, however you think about it. I don't know. However you want to think about it, could be create the quote, and you could put in the different tasks in here. Gather requirements. Build, get pricing. Build quote. Right, so you could add all those. You could add people to them, all of that. You could add a new bucket here. So that's create the quote, and then this might be present to client. And you could add a task here. And it could be print out quote, schedule meeting. Maybe that should go on the other one, but we're just kind of playing around here. Bring swag, because we like to share our Tobin things with people. So you can put all that in here, and now you can start to see you've got all of these. And if they were whoever they were assigned to, like if this was assigned, build the quote was assigned to me, and bring the bring swag is, we'll assign that to me. You can do it a couple different ways, or when you want to add some more notes, all that stuff. Great, right? So I got all that in here now. So now what can we do with all that? So now we've got some basic things in here. We've got some different views. So there's like a grid view, which is kind of a nice little, a little view of all of those tasks, if you like to do a grid view. You've got the charts view. So this starts to get into based on what's happening with those tasks, right? If something's done or they started when they go into the task, if I go in here and say, okay, it's in progress, and then I go back to charts, oh, there's 6 tasks left, 5 are not started, 1's in progress, 0 are late, 0 are completed. So you start to get a nice report. So this isn't bad. This could be great for a one-on-one. This could be great for a, one of the steps we talk about in that delegation process from that book that I highly recommend you buy about if you want it done right, you don't have to do it yourself, is you put some checkpoints in along the way, right? How many of you ever been frustrated with you had somebody go do something and then they got all the way done and it just didn't hit the mark? So if it's an important thing, if it's a complex thing, if the person's newer, whatever reason, you might want to put in some checkpoints. So what a great place to have a checkpoint. Let's sit down and bring up Planner together and let's see where we are with our tasks. So you got all that kind of stuff in here, and you can start to play around and add more things. Lastly, you've even got a schedule piece here. And this is kind of strange with how they do it, but you can actually take some of the tasks and drag it to the calendar and do some of that. I don't really like that feature that much, but it might work for you. So it's there. You got files attached to it. You'd see those files listed here because those can be in the plan. You can link those. But again, I can go back to my assistant, go back to my grid here, see those things. So you can see, you start to get some of that stuff. But now, what else has happened here? What else is going on? So we had some stuff in Planner, and I assigned some stuff to me. We're going to talk about Microsoft To Do here in a second. So, but I'm going to pop it open so we can take a quick look at Microsoft To Do. There's To Do. To Do. Now, Microsoft To Do is a dedicated app just for your to-dos. Okay. But if I look at it, it's only really centered around my own to-dos. We're going to pop in here. But if I look assigned to me, look, bring swag, build quote. Those came from Planner. Those came from that graph I was talking about. So you didn't have to go put that in there. So for some people who just want a to-do list, because they might be in 10 of your buckets with 10 different things, but they just want to have a list for the day. So this could be which are assigned by which day. So this is a really cool feature, and there's a to-do app for your phone if you want to have it where you're at, or if you're in the warehouse and you want to bring up a to-do list or whatever. So you can start to see where the graph gets in here. So I'm going to move back to our presentation here on the and reshare the slides, and we're going to talk a little bit about Planner. To do. So Microsoft To Do. It's a to-do list. It's a fun to-do list. They bought another company, I forgot which one, and kind of built in some of this technology and grabbed it in. But it's a simple and intelligent to-do list. There's a free version for home, and it's included with your Microsoft 365 subscription. And it's, for some people, they don't like a spreadsheet. They like a to-do list. Like, their version of their to-do list is they've got a notepad sitting next to their desk, right? And they write down their 5 things they want to get done today, and then they cross them off and have that satisfaction of striking through that it's done, or they're clear at the end of the day what's done or what's not done. This is kind of like that. So, but it's going to aggregate lots of to-dos from all the different systems you use. Now, pro tip for anybody, if you're going to be one of those people, every one of those books probably is going to say, at a regular time, probably in the morning, sit down and plan your day, plan your week. There's science that shows it. I'm not going to try and convince you it's a good or bad thing. I just want to tell you that most people think this is a great thing to try on. See if it works for you. Spend that time in the morning planning what you're doing. This is where you get to do that delegate work. What is it you want to do? Who's doing it? By when? What does it look like? What's their level of authority? You sit down. Once you get really skilled at this, you can start doing things a lot more quickly, but it's a really great practice to get into. And I do it about 10% of the time. So, but I know when I do it, it tends to lead to a happier day. So a little bit more about To Do. So again, these are all the tasks. You can have as many tasks as you want. You can put the due dates. You can set so that's who's doing what by when. In this case, it's really you. So by default, this is your task list. To Do is very centric around yourself for the most part, except in one case where you can create a list of tasks and then share it with a group. But you can take your tasks, break them down into smaller tasks. You can do some of those subtasks I'm going to show you. They automatically appear in your Outlook if you're an Outlook user. And Microsoft To Do exists everywhere. It's on the web. It's on iOS. It's on Android. So this is great, right? You could be, I've brought this up, I'm like, oh, I got to go run somewhere, and I'm in line, waiting at the drive-through for, lunch, and I bring up my to-do list, and I can go look and see what's done, what's not done. I can actually assign some people some things through that or with Planner. So please, you've got a full suite of Microsoft applications that exist as apps, including this. So it gives you that ability to take that data everywhere using the same security, the same ID and passwords. You don't have to manage anything new or set up another system. There might be other to-do systems out there that are good or better than Microsoft To Do. But if Microsoft To Do is good enough and you already have it and it already is built into your account and you've already got security around it, maybe think about it. And, I didn't mention something earlier I wanted to mention as I talk about that. There are lots of to-do systems out here. There's lots of to-do applications and project management applications and accountability applications. Two things. Without that work ahead of time, it's just not likely to make the difference you really want it to make. And I think that because there's thousands of books on this stuff, right? There's so many different systems out there. It might be the system, and there are systems that might be better or worse for you, but we've been doing IT. I've been doing it for 26 years and actually longer. It's 26 years for Tobin and another 10-ish years before that. And, sometimes IT projects don't succeed. People invest in technology and they don't succeed. A lot of times it wasn't the technology. They just didn't use it the way it was designed, or they didn't really hold people accountable to using it, or they didn't prepare to use it and they went back to their old, what they knew best, what they had muscle memory. For those of you using spreadsheets and email, how long have you been doing that? Years probably, right? There's a lot of muscle memory there. So there's time to get clear how these work. There's time to train your team. There's time to learn how to do all this and do all of that. And that is the kind of thing that you want to really consider with these tools. If this is like your third or fourth to-do tool, I really invite you to look at what else you could be doing and some of those things I mentioned earlier that might have your next to-do tool, or one of the ones you've already spent some time around, have it be effective. All right, so I'm going to jump into to-do here and do a little bit more sharing around that. Let's see here. Share. All right, so I am back in this screen. You are seeing it. Okay, great. Nope, am I sharing the right screen? I did not say share. All right, so now you're back here. We're back at that Microsoft Office page. Same place where you can go and launch To Do like I did before. I clicked on apps and I clicked on To Do. You can have these things be, whoops, all apps. To Do. You can have it open multiple things, which is kind of nice. You could have multiple displays of what's in To Do. This is the web version. There's another version. So a couple things. So first of all, it has your to-do list. So if I simply want to add something for today, I can just go in and you start off in this My Day. And My Day is kind of a fun thing. It's kind of a transient thing. It's really just about today, because whatever tasks I list on today that I don't get done will not show up on My Day tomorrow. They'll still be in my list of tasks, but they won't be on that day. They might be a suggestion for the future, but they're not going to be on there. So if today I had some things on here like paint the fence and I was playing around with assigning a document, but this could be plan next event, could be call my favorite customer, could be take a stretch break, whatever you want to put on here. These are all on the My Day. And look, I'm starting to get some messages in Outlook because I'm adding some tasks on there. Those popped up from before. I'll show you what those are in a bit. This becomes My Day. Now I can click on this and I can put a little more meat around it. I can put a due date. I can add a reminder. I can say this repeats. I can categorize it. I can add a file. I can add a note. I could add extra steps in here, take a stretch break and I don't know, what would be another step on the stretch break, stand up, I don't know. You could put things in there however you want it to be and then mark those off. Maybe it's not take a stretch break, maybe it's take a 5-minute wellness break, and I'm going to do some stretches and I'm going to do some standing up, and you might want to just make a note to do each one of those. However you want to use it, it's your list. When you're done though, then you get this super satisfied thing. When I click on this, I don't know if you're going to hear the ding. You heard the ding through the microphone or not. I get a very satisfying ding. It's done. And now it moves to the completed list. And I'll get the same ding if I do it from my phone or from my tablet. It's all synchronized. Okay. We've got those planned items. These were things that came from the planner. If I click on those, it'll bring you can open them up in Teams. I think somewhere it'll take me to the plan from here. Where will it take me to the plan? But if I mark these as complete, so if I go in here and I say, okay, this is done, and I might add a new step here, review new topics, and send to email list. In theory, with the graph, if I go back into planner, let's see, refresh here, go into schedule the webinar. Whoops, it's not opening my board view. Look at that. Schedule a webinar. That got marked as complete, and it added the new one, send to email list. It's kind of cool, right? So you could be using Planner for the planning, but someone else could be using To Do for their to-do list to organize their day. Because what they can do is they go back to their My Day. You can say, I want to add something. You can have these suggestions. And the suggestions will show you other tasks. It'll bring you other things. I can add other items to my day. And I can just click, oh, I want to bring swag. That's the thing I want to do. I'm going to click there. And now bring swag shows up on my day. I can make this a favorite, or as an important one rather. It shows up as something like this is my day, but maybe I flag the ones as important as like, these are like my critical 3. I got to get these done. So when I do this view, I can see these are my critical 3. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that. If I am in an email, and I'm going to go into my email here. I've got some emails, and you're going to start to see some other ways you get notified. We talked about notifications. Look, someone was joined to the fulfillment team group. If I'm the assistant, I've been assigned to that group. When you're assigning tasks, some of those through a planner might show up in here to let people know they've got things. But let's say this email was something, this Microsoft Viva was really important to me and I wanted to follow up on it. Okay, because we all get tons of email every day, right? What do we do with those emails? How do we track the ones that are important that we want to do while still trying to clean up our email box? So what I do is I'll like flag this and say, oh, okay, this is flagged. That's good. And now I'm going to move it to like my archive. But now if I go over to my to-do and go under flagged email, is it there? Welcome to your digest. This was that email that I just flagged. Even though I moved it out of my inbox, because I flagged it, it now showed up in my flagged email category. And I can even click here and it'll take me right to Outlook and open up that email from which I could reply or do whatever I want to do. Pretty cool, huh? So you can create tasks here, any tasks you want. You can just start building your tasks. You can create task groups. You can create a list of tasks. So like I created this office items one. So you might have kind of groups of tasks that you want to organize that way, because there might be, could be this office end of day process. Could be, check doors, could be check alarm, same typo. Like that. But what can I do with this task? I can use it. I could share it to people. So this is the one case where these tasks become something you can share to others. And you share that, and they're going to see that in their to-do list as a task list that they've got access to. And they'll see these same things. So if you mark it off or they mark it off, you will know. It's cool stuff. So that is to do, and again, from your phone, from your tablet. Every day you can start off with a clean my day. And if you get to do that planning session for yourself in the morning, maybe schedule yourself 15 minutes in the morning to look at your calendar and look at your list. And what do you want to get done today? Maybe there's some item you want to create a list over here of personal items. You know, you could have personal things on here for yourself, or your, you know, things that are health and well-being related, anything you want to put in here, because it's your list. You can do what you want. Okay. We are, whoa, way behind time here. Okay. We're going to go back, and I'm going to share back to our slideshow. We're going to talk about Outlook here a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to do a big demo. I'll do the Outlook piece. I'm going to do that. Outlook, it kind of works the same way. I showed you how we flagged. I guess we kind of did do this. We flagged it with that. And if you create any tasks in Outlook, if you're somebody who likes using Outlook tasks, those tasks also show up in your to-do. So you can see them in both places. So that's handy. And because you might already be doing it that way, but now you've got that to-do app, because you might have all your to-dos now in one place. You'll aggregate to-dos from what's in Outlook. You can aggregate to-dos from what's in Planner. You can aggregate to your personal to-dos, all in one handy dandy place. If you're an OneNote user, anything you have in OneNote, you can also flag. And when you flag it in OneNote, it becomes an Outlook task. But because Outlook tasks synchronize to do, it's kind of a shortcut way of getting those things over into to do. So if you're a OneNote user and you like, that's your checklist, that's what, you know, some of you, I don't know, some of you had spreadsheets and emails, maybe some of you are using OneNote as a process checklist. You got that. Let's see. Oh, we talked about that already. Oh, we're further ahead than I thought. That's great. Or did I not go through all these things? This was all more about using the how did I do here? The tasks part. So this is the slides that I should have showed you, I think. That was everything that I just showed you about to do. So I got a little out of order, but this will give you some reference. So you do the, when this is done, you'll get a link to the survey. You complete the survey, we'll give you a slide deck, and you'll have some of these things, but it's more or less just what I talked about here for those of you that were taking lots of notes. All right, we have another survey that I'm going to have Amanda drop in here. Mickey, you were asking about the apps. When you download the app, most of the Microsoft apps will have a settings section where there's accounts, and then you either add an account, like your Microsoft 365 account there would be where you'd put it. And if there's already an existing account there for another something, you can either leave it or delete it. And Amanda, I'm still not seeing that survey, so if you want to mention what's happening there.
Yeah, absolutely. This one is based on what areas of your organization could be impacted with effective delegation and accountability. Kind of looks like it's across the board: sales, marketing, finance, admin, operations, production, human resources, customer engagement, team engagement. So, I mean, yeah, every area could definitely benefit from effective delegation.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. You can dump the survey then. Yeah, right. Every area. And if I were filling out the survey, I would have the same thing, because it's either you've got some level there. It's just a question of what, how it looks, how effective it is. And then that's where you are. And then there's where you might want to be and the gap. between there, and that's all there is. And the gap might be preparing more and planning more that we talked about with some of those books and getting your methodology down around what you want to do. And then the other might be some of the actually picking out the tools and trying them out and see which ones you want to do. We have Microsoft Lists, which I've shown you on other things. I'm going to show you that in a little bit of a demo. That's another tool that Microsoft has that will create a nice list like this. This could also be, some of your list might be an issues list. It might be a list of deliveries that are happening. Are they on track or off track? Some of these things you might doing in spreadsheets where you've got color coding and statuses and things like that. You can turn it into a handy dandy web app and a handy dandy mobile app for whoever uses that. I'll show you that in a bit if there's, I don't know if there's going to be time for that. Microsoft Teams as well has some components in there. I'm going to probably focus on some of that because that's really the juice as far as I'm concerned with some of these things. And because a lot of you have Teams and maybe aren't using it, you may be using it for chat in that, but there's some cool things built into it. And there are some other tips and tricks here. So I'm going to go do a quick couple minutes on that, and then we'll round back. And Amanda, can you let me know when there's like about a minute and a half left so I could wrap up? That'd be great. Let's see. So let's share, and we'll get better with timing these in the future. All right. So we talked about lists. That is another app. Same place, going to your hub. Microsoft, like every app, has all these little, like, welcome, here's how you do it kind of a thing. So you can take a look, but it's pretty easy. Create a new list. Do I want to start a blank one, or I want to start a one from a template? And you can create your own templates. Oh, look, from an Excel file. Maybe you could take that Excel file that you've already got and convert it into one of these automated lists. We can help with that if you need that, because Tobin can not only show you these things exist, but we can also help you implement some of these things or train you on it or help you work through the business process. So here's what it looks like. It's a basic issue tracker. I'm going to use a template. Sure. I'm going to call it the issue tracker. Great. Call it, leave that, save it to my lists. And there it is. Here's an issue tracker. I can go in and say a new issue, call it service problem, missed delivery date. Gosh, this is a priority high. It's new, it's assigned to, got to give it to somebody. I'm gonna put it in. You can add some more info, but I think you get the idea. And look, now we've got this. We've got this issue tracker. This could be popped off into its own window. This could be popped off into its own screen. This could be popped off into a 55-inch screen that's in your warehouse.
Jeremy,
And on their phone. Yeah.
your demo's not showing.
What's not showing?
Your demo.
Oh, gosh. Okay. I never clicked the share. Thank you. Okay. So I just talked through all that. This is what you would end up seeing, but basically I went into the same place over here. I clicked on lists. I got to lists. I set a new list. I picked that template and I filled out a screen like this and got that, right? So you've got that piece. I'm going to go for a couple more minutes after this. And so you'll have the full presentation. I think I can go a few more minutes. I say that without checking my calendar. Amanda, do I have a few more minutes to go after this, or do I need to wrap up? I don't know. I got a 10. I think I got a meeting with internal. I'm going to go for about 5 more minutes if you want to stick around. Otherwise, we will. You'll have the recording of this. So that's Microsoft. Thank you. So that's Microsoft Lists. That's another great way to use this. We talked about using the flags or items here. I'm not going to show you the OneNote piece. That's pretty self-explanatory. What I want to show you is another little thing here that we're starting to use more at Tobin. It's super handy. And that's using the comments feature or the at feature. So when you are in, like, if I want to do like a new Word document, and you can do this through, come on, create. I'll open up this doc. If you have a document and you're storing it in SharePoint, I can go in and I can say, okay, here's a document and there's a comments feature. You can enable that, show it or not show it. And you can see this in the desktop version as well. But from the Windows, I think it's going to be showing up in the desktop version. I don't know if it can do it yet, but from the web version, not only can you mention somebody, so I can go in here and I'll say, let me put a new section. Now from here, I can say, I want to do a new new comment. And if someone can mute that, thank you. I can say, what do you think of this section? Please add your feedback. @mention Jeremy. But I could also assign it as a task, and that's going to actually show up for 2 different ways. So first of all, I got this comment thing. So this is kind of nice because some of you are going back and forth with emails doing document revisions when you could be using this comment feature. Highlight the section. This is what I'm looking for. This doesn't show up for the customer. It's only internal. They're not going to see this stuff unless you want them to if they're invited. And then where does that show up? So I got it as a task. I mentioned myself. Microsoft has started doing these notifications, and at some point, what was that? Service problem. This was when I added that item to the list, I got an email. So that's part of the notification component. At some point, this task, did I save it? Is going to show up as, let's see if it showed up in, it's got these notifications here. And of course, it's not showing up for the demo here. I might have to refresh or something. That mention, along with, I don't know if you've noticed in Outlook these days, they've added in a little, where is it? I'm gonna look, why am I not seeing it here? Let me go back to Outlook on the web. I think it'll show it there for sure. Oh, there's the messages coming through. Document was assigned. We're all in a, what do you do when you get an email here? A lot of times, like, thanks for the email. This was good. Got it. Microsoft has these new little reaction things. Thumbs up. Whoops. So if I go in under here, at some point, they're going to actually show up here. They're not showing up for some reason. But anywhere you are now email mentioned, any documents where you do an with your name or someone else's name, they're going to show up here. Now, this might drive people crazy, but you might like it. You'll get a little badge here when it's actually working, and it will show you how many you have that aren't looked at. And that is kind of how that works. So it's got that stuff built in. This might be how some of your to-dos are. Go revise this document. Go look at this section of the contract and tell me what you think of the language. So you could do it with this. Okay. So I went a little long. I appreciate the time. I'm going to wrap up here. I think we'll maybe do another deep dive on this sooner than later, depending on what your feedback is. But I'm going to go back and just kind of complete our thing here. Your brain is an amazing thing, and it is just so bad at keeping track of all this stuff. Really. I mean, maybe a few things, but studies show you're just not going to get enough in there or reliability around with it or awake when you remember it or any of that kind of thing that might actually be going on. So you want to get it out of your brain. You want to use that methodology to somehow get ahead of this, get clear what you want, what it looks like, then who's doing what by when, and start to put it in to some of these tools and then see what you get. We're available for speaking on this. If you want to do a deep dive in your organization around this, you want to get more tips on LinkedIn or, Facebook and Twitter and all that, we're there too. I'll stick around for another couple minutes on are you seeing this? Yeah, you're seeing this. Okay, good. And that's it. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Be safe if you got to drive anywhere. And we'll see you at the next webinar. Oh, and do that survey when you get it. It's so important. We love your feedback. That's why we started doing more demos, because people wanted more demos. So tell us what you want. We do listen. Thank you.